April Fools. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 1st, 2025 work session of the Town of Ossining. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's an
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trying to mix it up on me.
Okay, Councilmember Meyer. Councilmember Fields to Wheel,
Here.
Councilmember Manicchio.
Here.
Councilmember Weiss, Supervisor Feldman.
Present.
So we have our special presentation regarding the Town of Austin's 2024 to 2025 Stormwater Annual Report. And we have Mike Ritchie here from Dolph Rudolph's Engineers to speak about it. Thank you.
You just threw it.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a privilege to be here. Meet my old friend, Noam, and catch up a little bit, unexpected pleasure. And also a pleasure to be with you all here this evening. This is an area of interest, countywide with our stormwater programs, state mandated, but with merit. And I really like to start that way because, well, I was in local government my whole career. Sometimes elected officials at local level don't like to be told what they have to do. Particularly when, to some degree, it costs some resources, whether they're manpower or out of pocket. Overall, it's still an expense, and it comes down to really what is in the public interest overall. And I think we can agree that clean water rises to that level. You're a river community. You have a lot of activity, both resource-wise and recreation-wise, available to you on the river. And the stormwater requirements have been in effect for some time. This isn't new. There's a new dimension to it, and that I can shed some light on that for you tonight. But basically, it's how you conduct your municipal operations as they relate to the water. And you collect water on the roads, in your storm drains. Rainwater is dispersed, how you manage your building department operations and overseeing new construction, and how you treat your roads under certain weather conditions are all factors. And I could bore you with lots of regulations. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that with assistance of Rotfeld and now AI engineers that have taken Rotfeld Engineering into their family, with your Public Works Department, with the efforts that you make in presenting to your public, whether it's a public meeting like tonight, an Ossining Day when you can hand out information. Your responsibility as elected officials, focusing on that, is to have an understanding that overall, we all want the health of the river. We all want the health of where the river contributes water to the sound and to the ocean, how we recreate on the river, how we value the the air and water quality overall for us, for our children and future generations. When it comes down to checking the storm drain, that it's clean, really makes sense. I mean, it may be a little extra effort from time to time. How we police construction sites so that when the soil is disturbed, it doesn't run off where it doesn't belong and off the site. Hay bales it comes down to. But in your capacity as elected officials, focusing on your contact with the public, because you're the difference in whether it's a program that's mandated or it's something as a community we can all do to make our community cleaner, safer, healthier, this generation and those to come. And that with Rotfeld at AI now, what we do is try and help you minimize the overall difficulty of collecting the required information, and putting it in a manner that you can take responsibility for as it goes further to the state, how they assume the responsibility to see that you're doing what the regulations require, how the public works officials, and Noam and I have done this for years with public works departments. They're not good at paperwork. I mean, that's about the last thing that they frankly have. They work with gloves on. You know, I meet with them, they tell me, Mike, you know, it's paperwork. It's not what we do. Like we dig, we haul pipes, we, pave roads. Well, now there's, in these regulations, there's a lot of requirements for them to maintain records. And what the state says when they do an audit on a program like this is, if you don't have it in writing, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And then it comes back on you. So have a little bit of empathy, support for the staff. They do training. We provide some of the training. The county provides some of the training. The state provides some of the training. Overall, over the years that this has been in effect, and now it's being ratcheted up. There's no question after, COVID sort of muted things for a while. And a new generation of the program has come into effect. You're going to have time. You have 5 years in this new program to come up with the levels of effort that the state is going to, I think, take probably more serious reactions to. I don't know what that's going to be. And your initial report indicates that you're working towards a number of efforts to improve certain areas, and we'll work with your public works staff to see that they have the background that they need and the assistance as they work forward. But I would just implore you to give them the support and the credit and the encouragement that they need to take this overall, particularly as a river town, seriously, and maintain the time that I have worked with public works departments my entire career. I know what the reaction is. Well, Mike, we have to take our gloves off, but help them to do their job and and provide the records that are needed to satisfy the auditors when they come around, because that's all part of the program now. It's not just what the records you retain and make an annual report on. The individual records are very closely and carefully reviewed. So we're into a new generation of it. We worked with your staff. They've been very cooperative. They're very positive, but they need the community's and the board support as well. And I'd like to answer any questions you might have. If you are interested in more specifics, I'll try to help you, but generally
Yeah.
speaking, it's a community effort.
I do have a question, but I will say that, yeah, I sat through the stormwater. We were audited. And we do above and beyond the requirements. But as you said, they don't like to write it down. So whereas they check every catch basin before a storm, especially, the problem areas, if there's a real storm coming, they check every catch basin, they clear every catch basin. They don't check it off a list. So they have to learn to check it off a list. And that's really annoying for, when you're doing your job and you're moving around before a storm. But we're working toward, we're having a stormwater training, and we'll be, learning how to maintain the paperwork that the stormwater requirements would like to see. But as far as our department, I mean, they go above and beyond. They clean out every corridor every year, which is you're only expected to do, I think, 10% or 20% of your corridors a year. So we're very proud of our departments and how they work. We have a lot of zoning and legislation specifically designed to, contain our stormwater, protect all of our waterways, from the steep slopes to the construction requirements to all of the other possibilities. Gareth will be talking about the testing that we do to see what goes on there. So I feel like we're doing well. But my question is, in going through the report, it looks like instead of making you do an entire, huge booklet every year, they're having you do a section per year. Is that, like one of them is going to be on, your outfalls, and one of them is going to be on your construction. It looks like they're breaking it up differently. Can you speak to that?
Well, I have not gone through in detail the new reporting requirements. So,
Okay.
but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, perfect.
And I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Anybody else?
I have a question of how is there a how do you distinguish between what the town is responsible and what the state, specifically the DOT, is responsible in terms of keeping stormwater grates and culverts clean?
Just the state right away is their responsibility. The municipality is responsible on their right away. So
Does the state keep record keeping as you're indicating?
I have no direct knowledge of how the state is reporting their efforts. So I would assume that they are, but whether it's the county's responsible for their roads. The towns, the villages, the cities are all responsible for their jurisdictions. So if it's a state right away, whether they would make that information available to you or not, you could all ask your state representative. Sure.
All right, thank you.
Well, it's nice
Okay.
to see you in person.
And we're always ready if there's a question or a circumstance that you'd like more contact with, and any further assistance, we're available, and certainly where you can reach us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. Oh, me again.
Next up, we have supervisor and town board announcements.
So the New York State Public Service Commission is holding hearings and reviewing Con Edison's proposed price increases, which, if approved, will raise all residential customers' bills by an obscene percentage. Up to 25% for delivery and double digits for both your business and residential rates. There will be virtual public hearings that we encourage you to attend to make your voice heard. The meetings will be on April 8th and April 9th at 1 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. You can register online to comment at dps.ny.gov. You can find more information on my update or on our blast. And as an aside, the town has signed on with many of the other municipalities in a joint lawsuit and push to encourage the Public Service Commission to deny the rate increases. Almost all of the Westchester communities have come together, including the county and a lot of our state legislators. So that's good. Anyway, moving on. The Westchester County Mobile Shredder will be stopping by the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center from 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. on this Saturday, April 5th. The Ossining Parks and Rec Department, in conjunction with the fire department, will be running the Big Bunny on the Fire Truck Spring Parade. The parade is set to start at 9 a.m. this Saturday, April 5th. The full route will be posted soon on Facebook and I believe on the village's website. This Saturday, April 5th, again, the Bethany Arts Community is hosting their annual open house. Enjoy everything from art exhibits to stage plays, to activities and more from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. for free. No registration or tickets is needed. If you want to know more, please look at bethanyarts.org. On Sunday, April 6th, Hudson Valley Books for Humanity will be hosting Ritual Yoga's spring cleaning yoga event. Please check out their website at landallyoga.com for more details and to support this new local business. Westchester Collaborative Theater will be running a stand-up comedy night on Friday, April 11th at 8 p.m. The event will be hosted by John Guild and featuring comedians Joe Fernandez and Becky Viduccio. For more information, please visit wcttheater.org. Ossining Summer Camp registration is open. There are still spots available. The camp runs from June 30th through August 8th. For more information regarding prices and registration, please visit villageofossining.org. Westchester County is running a free tax prep program running through April 15th. This program is open at 9 different locations throughout the community, including our own Ossining High School and at our Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. For more information, please call 1-800-899-1479. Green Ossining's 15th annual Earth Day Festival is coming soon. Join us on Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. for food, activities, learning, live music, and much more. All right. The State Attorney General has released a list of resources protecting the rights of New Yorkers regardless of immigration status. For more information, please visit ag.ny.gov/resources/individuals/immigrants-rights. As always, our Ossining Public Library will be hosting many events, including movies, crafts, meditation, tutoring, yoga, book clubs, and more. Please see their website at ossininglibrary.org for more information. The Loft LGBTQ+ Community Center has programs and events, resources, and presentations, all dedicated to providing support to everyone part of the LGBTQ+ community, including many virtual and in-person support groups and clubs for a multitude of different topics. Please check out their website at loftgaycenter.org for more information. And for more fun and interesting things being held locally, you can look at the supervisor's update on this and on the supervisor's webpage to see them. Do any of my colleagues have anything else? Great. Thank you.
Any liaison reports? Okay. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on any of the resolutions on the agenda? Seeing no one, board resolutions, adoption of the MS4 annual report for January 3rd, 2024 to January 2nd, 2025. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to submit the MS4 annual report for program year January 3rd, 2024 through January 2nd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Permission to sell alcohol at the town of Austining Earth Day. Resolved that the Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, 6 Degrees or Less Brewery, and Sing Sing Kill Brewery are each authorized to operate a concession stand during the Earth Day event held on April 26, 2025, at the Lewis Ingle Waterfront Park in the town of Austining, and to sell for consumption by persons over 21 years of age at the event the company's beer products. Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, 6 Degrees or Less Brewery, and Sing Sing Kill Brewery will obtain with consent from the town all necessary permits, including an event permit from the New York State Liquor Authority, and will provide proof of insurance and a letter of indemnity to the town in a form acceptable to the council to the town. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody on the public who would like to address the board on issues not related to the agenda but are relevant to the common good of the town? Seeing no one, can I please have a motion to adjourn into the work session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And the first topic we have on our work session is a presentation on the 2025 Walk to End Alzheimer by Sudha Ramausi and Esther McCarthy.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. So we're just gonna take 4 to 5 minutes of your time, and my colleague Esther is gonna do the presentation via Zoom. But we really wanted to be here to ask for the town's support in promoting our walk to end Alzheimer's, and Esther's gonna talk about what the organization does, about the disease and what the organization does to combat the disease. Esther, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudha, and good evening, everyone. First, let me tell you a little bit about me. I support the Alzheimer's Association because I want to give back to the community. My mother, who once spoke 6 languages, was diagnosed 18 years ago. Looking back, there were signs we missed even before her official diagnosis. If I knew then what I know now, we would have started earlier and taken steps to make things easier for her and her family. Our family, excuse me. Today, she is nonverbal and can no longer walk. I've seen firsthand how devastating this disease is, not just for her, but for everyone around her. Martha, would you mind going to the next slide?
Do you have the PowerPoint presentation yourself to share on screen?
Oh, no,
Or do you wish me to share it?
I thought you had it.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll go ahead. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I could have had that up. Sorry.
No, it's no problem. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. It just makes it easier if when I talk about stuff, you could see it. And I would like to say while she's doing that the Alzheimer's Association is a volunteer-led association. So Sudha is actually one of 25 volunteers that we have in Westchester County, and she specifically works in this area. So I want to thank her and all the volunteers that we have that make this walk and this association so special.
And there's room for more volunteers.
There it goes. Okay, thank you. As the director for the Walk to and as the director for the Westchester Walk to End Alzheimer's, I want to share with you who the Alzheimer's Association is, why our work is so important, and how you can get involved. To make sure we're all on the same page, I just want to go over a few definitions. Alzheimer's and dementia are often used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Dementia is a general term for decline in memory, thinking, and problem-solving abilities, severe enough to interfere with daily life. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of the cases. However, there are other types of dementia. Each type has distinct symptoms and progression, but they all impact individuals and families in profound ways. Understanding these differences helps us better support those affected. Next slide. The Alzheimer's Association is leading in 3 ways: research, support, and advocacy. We accelerate scientific advancements, provide care and resources for individuals and families, and advocate for policies that improve access to care and increase research funding. Next slide. If you or someone you know needs help, we have a 24/7 helpline. The number's on there. It's 800-272-3900. Or you can go online to alz.org, and it tells you all the ways and everything that we have to help people, from support groups and educational programs, and everything is free. The biggest part of what we do is about awareness and visibility. Next slide. If you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference, I invite you to join the Walk to End Alzheimer's. It's more than just a walk or an event. It's a movement to raise awareness and funds for critical research, support services, and policy change. Whether you form a team, volunteer, as Suda is doing, or become a sponsor, every action brings us one step closer to a world without Alzheimer's. Next slide. Together, we can make a difference. I'd like to close with a short video, but I don't see the video on there. There it goes. How did that magically happen? Wait, before you play the video, I just want to say, if there are any questions about what we do or what specific needs we have between Suda and I, we can answer them for you. But
Yeah,
the
so
video is
what
just
support
like
are you looking for from our community?
we are looking for you to either have a team, we do presentations. We do support as presentations on 10 warning signs, eating healthy, financial advice. As I said, my mother's had it for 18 years. It's very devastating on the families, and it's devastating when you don't know where to go or what to do. That's why I share that story. I just imagine when it first starts, you feel lost. It's like, you know what the end is, and you just don't know what to do. We have free resources, we have support groups. All of those things are available and free, and we can send that to the town, share out, or with the town, we could set up for us to come in and do a whole presentation. One of the easiest ones is the 10 warning signs, which is the nuance between normal aging and not normal aging, or healthy living. We all know the 4 healthy, eat right, sleep, water, exercise, but still, it's good to hear it again in different forms. And sometimes we'll bring someone on to show you what food is or how to exercise, any of those type of things. And then finally, would love to have a team from the town. And our walk is the video is going to show you is a video of last year's walk. We had about 1,500 people, but not a lot of people from Ossining and this Peekskill or those kind of this area that you're in right now, because it's in Westchester Community College. So we can even do something local for this community, a walk within the community, or you can have everyone come over to Westchester
just
Community
wanna-
College.
Okay, so
on
where
October
does this
5th.
walk take place?
That's in the
Westchester Community College on October 5th.
Valhalla. The other
If
thing,
you
the
could-
other 2 things that we were gonna ask Liz was also just permission to put like lawn signs on some of the events that happens that just promotes the walk, like the Earth Day or anything that happens in the summer. Not in any public buildings, but yeah, you can think about it. And then and then any support from businesses, businesses can sponsor any in-kind donations or
What specifically are the funds used for?
they are used for research,
Research,
the Alzheimer's
support
disease
groups.
So they're going to the Alzheimer's
Association.
Association.
Funds
specifically?
researchers across the country working on, specifically on Alzheimer's or any related issues, dementia, aging and related to Alzheimer's. I personally know, my daughter worked in research, she's a high schooler, so she worked with a researcher in the Alzheimer's space, who was sponsored by a company as well as the association.
40% of the funds also come back to the community.
Because
All
of
of our resources are free. 40% of it comes back to the community for support groups, we have respite grants. There's a number of things. The 24/7 hot helpline. That's invaluable to
All of the
people.
staff is volunteer and the.
No,
fund-
not all the staff. I work for the association.
Okay.
But we have Westchester's $1 million walk. I'm the only person that works for the association. Everyone else is a volunteer.
And
I would love for you to
Westchester-
look at the video so you can get an idea of what the walk looks like. If you have time, it's a minute. I'm not sure if you could hear it, but it was fun. It's a fun walk. It's really a celebration of the hard work we've had all year.
So, I mean, I'll be happy to include it in my update and get it out if do you recommend coming to speak to seniors, or what type of groups do you prefer to speak to?
We love to speak to seniors and to let them know, we'd love to speak to caregivers in particular, because the
Or how do
caregivers are
you
sad.
access them? I mean, we have a memory care facility in town.
All of that, everything that you said, it's about awareness and visibility. I actually work with high school students. That's why you see so many high school students. They are our future. We do an intergenerational Lego competition where we have students and seniors work together. It's a lot. There's a lot of nuances and there's a lot of little things that we can do to support the community. A lot of times you just don't know where to go. And if we have that opportunity to come in and do a presentation, we absolutely will.
Okay.
Late last year, they held a community forum at the town of Peekskill where anybody in the town was invited to come and talk, and they were given resources of, different types of resources. And one of the things that came out of that was like a caregiver support group that is organized by Alzheimer's. So I actually run that, but in Peekskill. So if we want to have one in Austining, it's so much more closer to me. No, I'm kidding. No, but the point is, like, they offer those free caregiver support groups that is available to all caregivers, and you get a ton of information, anything from financial, how to set up, apply for Medicaid, to how to take care of it, how to take care of your burnout, etc. So there's community forums. Go ahead.
Is there technically like a World Alzheimer's Day annually?
It's it is September 21st. And what we do on September 21st is the Cuomo Bridge goes purple, and we have music and food and information. It's in Sleepy Hollow because that's where the bridge is. However, again, if there is something that the community would like to do that feels more local, we can sit down and have a conversation, and I'm sure I can make that happen. If I could make that bridge go purple on Alzheimer's Day, I could make anything happen.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I'm just thinking of, because for here, like every year, the town, the village, the state representatives, when it's like National Organ Donor Day, someone comes from their organization and creates an event here. So
Okay,
if you guys, you know,
Yeah.
if that's something that you
that would
wanna
be
do,
fine.
like, that's something that we already participate in for Organ Donors Day. I don't see why we wouldn't do it for,
Yeah, it
National
doesn't
Alzheimer's.
necessarily have to be on the same day they have the event.
yeah, no. And then the other thing I just learned recently that I wanted to share is that 2/3 of all people that have Alzheimer's are women, and it's usually from the onset of menopause. So I just learned that recently.
Well, what's happening is that I'm not sure if you're aware of it. There is no cure for the disease, but within the last 2 years, they had two FDA approved drugs to slow down the progression. And one of the things that we advocate for is that your primary care doctor take a little bit more time, and anyone over 60, just start giving them that basic test. I mean, I think we all know it, like, what time is it? Or they give you 4 words, and then they talk to you for 15, 20 minutes and ask you if you remember it. And what's good about that is if you start early at 60, the minute there is a dip or a change, you can identify it, because that's what's happening. It was a disease that was so, people didn't want to say that they had dementia or Alzheimer's. They didn't want to say it. So it was kind of in the background. But the earlier you catch it, the more likely you are to slow down the progression. But there is no cure yet.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to come to us. I think that we can work together with our, possibly our recreation department or our library to, find a venue where an event can be held. I personally would, reach out to our memory care facility in town on North State Road.
Okay.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And asking about, I'm sure there are caregiver, former caregivers there that, would, be able to speak to what they went through before their loved ones were admitted, and, B, probably need the mental support for, it's hard to watch your parent go through this, and it's very hard to have to give your parents' care over to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's a very traumatic event for families. And, I think, showing that there is a support group in the area, even if it's just Peekskill right now, might be helpful to that population.
Totally. Love it. Yeah, we can reach out. Thank you so much for the engagement.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and just send your information, please, for the walk.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a presentation from Sustainable Westchester on the 2025 Westchester Power Agreement.
Thank you very much, Madam Supervisor, council members. Really a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for allowing me to spend a couple of minutes in your company. And although I'm here to talk specifically about the Westchester Power Program, I should note it is one of many programs that is supported by Sustainable Westchester. It has been a pleasure for us to partner with the town in the past on that spectrum of activities, and we hope to do so again in the future. And I also have to say, as we heard from Mike, I used to be in local government myself, so it's a lot of fun to observe the different habits of municipal leaders. I want to particularly compliment you on approving the concessions for those breweries. That is the kind of bold leadership that we need in these troubled times. So congratulations on that. So let me see now if I can
Public thinking, yes.
screen share successfully. I did it before, Martha, so I hope I can do it again.
I do gotta say thank you for the good rewards programs. We finally started getting our checks this week.
Yep, I got
yeah,
$161 back from my grid
That's
reward,
right.
so.
It's not life altering, but it certainly helps, and it's guaranteed savings,
yeah,
especially
just
when
for turning off
electricity
my air
abilities are.
conditioner when it wasn't
rising.
home.
So I should tell you, this presentation is quite comprehensive. It deals with the program history, its mechanics, its context, its goals. However, I am aware that it wasn't so long ago that my colleague Nick Tedrow was here presenting much of the same content. And so my guess is you probably have a firm grasp of that, and you'd rather I just cut to the chase talk about the performance of the current contract, some of the issues that the
Yeah, I
supervisor and
wanna
I spoke
hear-
about earlier?
I want to hear how we're
Okay.
bidding.
So I'm going to get this, I'm going to skip the first 36 slides. Just think about all that you
That's
are
efficient.
missing. Give me a sec here.
No one knows how to run a meeting.
I've been on your side of this.
Amen.
When Nick was here last, he was in the unenviable position of having to explain why the prior contract was really performing in a very unfavorable way. We had a rate that was persistently higher than the Con Edison rate. There were logical and understandable reasons for that circumstance, but there's no denying that it created real problems for us in the program, created problems for public officials who stood behind the program, created problems for the residents who you represent. I'm happy to say that the current contract is doing much better, and you can see the rates displayed here. The sort of basic electricity that we purchase is at a little over 11 cents per kilowatt hour. You can see there the comparable rates for Con Ed for the first 3 months of this year. That apple is there as a powerful visual representation of apples to apples comparison, lest you miss the point. And then, of course, the whole point of the program is that we also purchase renewable energy certificates in order to deliver clean power. And you can see the rates for the 50% and 100% level. So we bounce up and down, sometimes a little ahead, sometimes a little bit behind, but basically comparable to what you're getting from the utility. So we're happy to be back in that position. And that is consistent with the historical experience of this program. If you look at the full 10 years of its operation, the years in which we've been ahead of the utility, the years when we've been behind, have roughly balanced out. 2023 and 2024 really stand out as outliers. That is, again, the problematic prior contract, which was concluded just as the war in Ukraine was breaking out. And we're back now in a mode that is consistent with our historic performance. It is important to note, as is stated in the lower right-hand corner of this slide, that consistently, even in that unfavorable prior contract, the renewable power that we've been able to deliver through this program has been consistently less expensive than the clean power that one could otherwise obtain on the private market through an ESCO, through an energy service company. And so for anyone who has wanted renewable electricity, this has been a consistently good deal. And by making this option available to your residents, you've been providing an important service. So what are we trying to do right now? Let me skip ahead again, just a little bit. So the current contract runs through the end of November. That's not going to change. We're not going to abrogate it. The new contract will start on December 1st. And ordinarily, we would have waited a little longer before coming back to you. We don't want to overburden you with requests so frequently. But there are a couple of reasons why we want to do this sooner rather than later. The first is not related to this specific moment in time, but is really sort of a best practice that maybe we should have embraced all along. And that is to give ourselves a larger window, a longer runway in which to time our energy purchase. So we can be a little bit more strategic about monitoring market conditions and striking at the optimum moment. If we wait longer until we're sort of confronted with the critical path of decision-making, then in effect, we only have a window of a few weeks in which to make that energy purchase. And if that happens to coincide with an unfavorable moment in the market, we're stuck with it. And so by starting a little bit earlier, we can act more effectively as your agents to get the best possible rate. Relatedly, this also gives us an opportunity to look at what are called the shoulder months before the summer season. It's in the summer when energy demand increases, that tends to pressure up rates. Now, in theory, that should not impact the long-term contract where the seasonality all should be built in, but markets are what they are. Psychology is what it is. And we at least want to give ourselves access to those those pre-summer months in case they present a better circumstance for us. To the point that the supervisor asked me offline before we got here, how do we sort of manage this? How do we evaluate markets? So it begins with our own staff, which has deep experience in this field. Dan Welsh, who's the program director, has been at this for 10 years. This happens to be the first and still largest community choice aggregation program in New York State. So he has a wealth of experience. He's in constant consultation with the energy suppliers who on a regular basis are providing what are called indicatives, which is sort of an indication of where pricing is. That is a snapshot of today as well as what a contract would look like at different lengths of time, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Dan and his team are also in consultation with other CCA administrators around the state and around the country. And finally, we have professional consultants, those who manage our auction process, those who evaluate contracts for us with groups like AUE and Transparent, who have deep expertise in energy markets and advise us on conditions. Even with all that, the nature of any a contract of this kind is that there are no guarantees. There is such a thing as a bad beat in poker. For those of you who play, sometimes you can have the odds exactly in your favor and still lose. And conversely, sometimes you can make every mistake in the book and still luck out into a good situation. So I don't want to represent to you that there's any certainty, but I do want to tell you with confidence that we have excellent people working on your behalf, that they are using logic, reason, deep experience, and a constant influx of data to evaluate market conditions in order to do the best that we possibly can for you. The second factor that is encouraging us to move earlier does relate to this specific moment in time. It's not a partisan statement to say that there is a great deal of turmoil and uncertainty in the national and international markets right now, related to the possibility of tariffs being imposed, related to how energy imports might be impacted. So to the extent that we at least have a chance of getting ahead of that and having a kind of safe harbor, we think that also might serve the program and serve you well. And so our specific request is not that you do anything different from what you've done in the past, but you just do it a little earlier in the cycle. And so if you are in a position to approve the standard memorandum of understanding, the standard electric service agreement this month, as other communities in the program are intending to do, then we think we'll be able to serve you effectively. So let me pause there. Supervisor, I see you have a question. So
Yeah, how many of the renewable energy credits are coming from Canada?
0. So
we are strictly within the confines of the United States for our renewable energy credits?
yes, under the state regulations, which govern community choice aggregation and which govern renewable energy certificates generally, the purchases have to be associated with the New York State renewable energy. So
Okay.
all of it, the tier of RECs that we purchase is associated with New York hydropower. Even so, we live within the world of a larger energy market. So even if the RECs themselves are not impacted, the base rate may well be impacted by changes in energy flow across the border, which is why it is among the things that we're concerned about.
Well, I'm aware, yeah, because Canada supplies a lot of New York's upstate areas with their energy, and if that's not as ideal a situation as it has been in the past, I just want to understand what that might do to the market. And are you looking at what that might do to the market? And, and then of course we have Con Ed who is asking to raise their rates, are they going to be bargaining from a position of, we think they're getting them raised because we're feeling like they're not going there. If we have anything to say about it.
Look, I don't want to, I'm not going to opine about Con Ed. You made an excellent statement earlier. I do want to point out, and I think you noted this, that supply and delivery are distinct elements of the bill. Con Ed is always responsible for delivery. They own the infrastructure. This program purely concerns supply, where you have choices and consumers have choices. Everything you mentioned potentially impacts us. Everything you mentioned concerns us and is constantly under surveillance. And all we can do is try to prepare for and react to that potential turbulence in the market as intelligently as possible. And I would say it is yet another reason to support a program like this, which gives your consumers alternatives. That's really what this is about at the end. With Westchester Power, you have a choice beyond the utility, beyond the private ESCOs, something that has a fixed rate with consumer-friendly regulations and clean power. And if you want to have that on the menu available to the residents of the town, this is the way to do that.
My colleague.
I was just wondering, one question I had was, most contracts always run 12 months? I mean, I know you mentioned a little bit, say 16, 18, 24 months, but
Usually you never go past a year, so.
We've done it both ways in the past. So the current contract is actually 13 months. The prior contract was 2 years. I'd have to go back to see what the overall history was. I will say that we will entertain bids at a variety of lengths and then evaluate what comes back from the suppliers. I'm personally of the belief, and I'm not just making this up, this is what the energy experts are saying too, that there's every reason to believe there's going to be upward pressure on electricity rates over the medium to long term. A lot of the older pollution generating fossil fuel based plants are rolling offline, which is a good thing, but the renewable energy is not coming online as quickly as we would like in order to make up the difference. So that imbalance between supply and demand might pressure rates up. For that reason, I would say that if a 2-year contract can be delivered at a rate that's comparable roughly to a 12-month contract, we might want to take advantage of that. If on the other hand, there's a big rate differential, then we'd probably go with 12 months.
Because you don't have no opt-out in that, right? Once you sign a contract, there's no opt-outs for you.
There's no opt-out for us or for the program,
But our residents
but there's
can
always
opt
an
out.
opt-out for a resident. Yeah.
But for you, you can't after you.
Correct. We're locked into the contract for whatever its term is.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your attention. And if there's anything that you need from our team in order to sort of process the gears, you just let us know.
Okay.
I went through the contract. They seem to be pretty standard, consistent with what we've done in the past. Usually the only election that the board has to make is whether you want to do 100% green, which in the past is what you've done.
Right.
So if the board is comfortable with that, then you could put it on for resolution. So you want the MOU and the agreement as well?
Yes, please. I mean,
Okay. So we could
that-
put
that's
that,
our
if the
request.
board's comfortable with it, we could put it on at your legislative session next week.
Okay, and are you still offering the 50% option or no?
Yes, we will. And both options, 50% or 100%, or leaving the program entirely, are always available to individual residents. What you'd be choosing is what is the default supply
Okay.
that is available in the town.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good to speak with all of you.
Sorry. I just had one quick question.
Oh, sure.
If you're a resident, and you've already opted out at being at the 50% versus the 100, is that continuous, or do you have to call every year to change if you want to be on the 50%?
Good question. If you opt out of one contract, you remain out of the program unless you affirmatively communicate with us and say you want to come back in. So a choice that's made in one contract is respected across future contracts.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Garrett.
Next up, we have the water testing at Lewis Engle Park, and Hudson Valley Stream Conservancy. Gareth Hoffman is here. Just give me 1 second. I'll share your slides.
Good evening, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Hear me all right? Great. Nice to see you. I'll wait for this slide to come up. Great. You get that full? It's a under view, I think. Cut off the top a little bit, but I think you can read it. So, good evening. My name is Gareth Huffam. I'm president of Hudson Valley Stream Conservancy, which is a local environmentally oriented nonprofit right here in Ossining. And thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on our work on sewage bacteria monitoring related to the Lewis Engle Park Beach. And we'd also like to make a request this evening. Next slide, please. So for background, there's a challenge, and that is that the New York State DC has been encouraging Hudson River towns to make better use of their Hudson River waterfronts for swimming particularly. And so back in 2021, Ossining, the town of Ossining started looking into the use of the Lewis Engle Park Beach. And unfortunately, the water quality turned out not to be adequate. It did not pass the either the Westchester County or the New York State water quality guidelines for contact recreation. And that was determined by investigations that the town and Hudson Valley Stream Conservancy did in partnership. And the way that worked is that the town has provided laboratory fee grants for us to do the sampling and do the data analysis and write the reports. And so we were able to find that unfortunately, the water quality did not meet those requirements. And I should mention that HVSC has provided all the sampling, data analysis, reporting at no cost. And all the costs or all the funding that the town has provided has gone to the Westchester County Laboratory for the water analysis itself. So progress. I'm happy to report that there's been progress. So together, as partners, we've identified some of the major sewer sources coming into the Hudson River and the beach area. Most notably, the Sing Sing Kill for a couple of reasons, which I'll get into, and the Sparta Brook. In fact, we've done some recent work with a new intern, Sadunja Narayanan, who has done some really nice work looking at the Sparta Brook. Supervisor Feldman has also found that there have been some intermittent but very significant inputs of sewage from septic companies illegally dumping. So there are a lot of inputs. It's a complex situation, and little by little, we're figuring out what needs to be fixed. So HVSC has identified and quantified 8 specific sewage sources in the Sing Sing Kill. Last year and the year before, we took about 80 samples, and of those 80 samples, we found these 8 specific sources that were putting in raw or nearly raw sewage into the Sing Sing Kill. We reported this formally to both the town and the village, and the village and town engineering and DPW responded to these and did some repairs, significant repairs this past summer. And the good news is that there's measurable progress, so it's working. Next slide, please. Oh, the request. Hang on a second. Yeah, here we go. So at the bottom, I'd like to request that the town once again provide a $5,000 lab analysis grant so that we can do more work this spring and summer to continue the work and further refine our understanding of the situation. And this year, it's especially beneficial because HVSC last spring applied for a New York State DEC grant to do a much more extensive study. And if we get awarded that grant, and we should learn that sort of by sometime in May, probably toward the end of May, if we get that, this $5,000 could satisfy most of the grant, the matching grant requirement. The other little bit that it doesn't cover, we would be covering separately. Next slide, please. Just to orient you, I know most of you know this. This is an aerial that shows some of the source locations. So right at the top is the outlet to the Sing Sing Kill. That's to the north. Just south of that is the Lewis Engle Park Beach, where the proposed public swimming beach is. Just south of that is the Westchester County Sewage Treatment Plant. And just south of that is the outlet from the Sparta Brook, which comes through Ossining. Next slide, please. Just a couple more photographs of our beautiful beach being used as it is generally all summer long. Next slide, please. This is the Sing Sing Kill. A photo taken during one of the cleanups that we've done in collaboration with Green Ossining and Riverkeeper. Next slide, please.
What is that?
Good question. We never really figured it out. But it's pretty cool looking, yeah. This, again, slides of the Sing Sing Kill. This is from the Rotary Club Duck Race that they hold. And I love these photographs because it warms my heart to see kids playing in the streams. And we make the point at the bottom that small streams have big impacts downstream. And that's particularly the case here with the Sing Sing Kill affecting the beach. And next slide, please. So the next two slides, I've shown you in the past, and I want to just go over them again because they're crucial to understanding the big picture. So again, this is an aerial view of the Ossining waterfront. Smack in the middle is the Ossining Beach. Over to the upper right is the Sing Sing Kill outlet, and to the upper left is a sewage treatment plant, effluent point. And this shows a situation when the Hudson River tide is going out. So when it's going out, the Sing Sing Kill water would be pulled right past the beach and would occupy the beach. Next slide, please. When the Hudson River tide is coming in, it would take water from the the Sparta Brook and from the sewage treatment plant and bring it right through the beach. So these are the inputs that we're trying to understand the relative contributions from to really direct us how best to mitigate. Next slide, please. 2023, we did the bulk of the 80 that I mentioned before. This shows raw sewage or nearly raw sewage coming out of one of the stormwater drains. And we found, of those 8 that we found, 4 of the raw sewage or nearly raw sewage inputs were from illegal or apparently illegal connections into the stormwater system. And next slide, please. And the other 4 were from leaking sewer main lines. And I just want to point, I wish I had a pointer so I could point to the bacterial numbers. Look here, this is the Enterococcus values, which is one of the fecal indicator bacteria. You can see the number is 198,600. The standard is 35, not 35,000, but 35. And this is 198,000. So it's very significant. Similarly, the E. coli is above 200,000 and its standard is down around 100. So these are very significant inputs. I'm happy to say, I believe that some of the repairs that the DPW has made were these leaks. And so one would hope that we would get some measurable improvements. Next slide, please. Next slide, that's another one. This is just a map we made of the hotspots for both the Enterococcus and the E. coli measurements. Next slide, please. And this is some data just from last summer alone. And on the x-axis, you'll see the date of sampling, and the y-axis are the Enterococcus values in terms of the concentration of bacteria. Toward the left, you see the bracket. That's those are the values that we measured in June. And you can see they're all up around 1,200 to 1,500 or so. Remember, they're supposed to be down around 35. And then if you look in July, they start to look better. And you can see there's actually 1 week where they seem to go from significantly higher values to lower. We don't know what work was done when, but we suspect that this is when some of the repairs were done. And so this is looking really good. I want to bring you back to the June timeframe. There's one date on June 26th where we made a series of measurements at the same location just over the course of a morning. Next slide, please. And that's this data here. So here on the x-axis, we have time, just morning time. And again, on the y-axis, Enterococcus. And you can see when it's very early in the morning, we have values in the 12 and 1500 range. But as soon as people wake up around 7 o'clock or so, and use the bathroom, we see big spikes. And in fact, those 3 top data points, the actual values may have been much higher because the test we used for this top out at that value. So those could have been still higher. And then after people are, have gone through their morning routine, the levels drop again. So what this shows is that the baseline values very early in the morning before people wake up is probably from upstream septic systems, which, put their, effluent out very slowly and you won't see spikes. And then the spikes themselves are from very direct, fast inputs, such as broken pipes that just, there's very little time delay. Next slide, please. This shows the same kind of data. In the blue, that's actually the same data from that I just showed, which was from June of this past year. But the yellow is from 2019, the same kind of a data set. You can see they're up there in the same range. The spikes are a little bit different, but the general magnitude is similar. Also, down on the bottom in red, you can see where the DEC water standard is. So you can see there's a huge discrepancy there. Next slide, please. This is what it looked like in September. So compare June to September of 24, and something is changing really, really nicely, really dramatically. And we see change both in the background values, that is what we think are the septic slow releases, and also the magnitude of the peaks themselves. So both of those categories of inputs, the stormwater systems and the leaks on the one hand, and the septic systems and so forth are coming down, both categories. Next slide, please. So with that, HVSC requests $5,000 to be able to continue this work, to continue to dig in, find more sources, and to further, develop our understanding of the dynamic of how these tributaries interact with our beach in the Hudson. And again, I want to just mention that HVSC does this work for free, except for incidental expenses like ice, because we have to keep our samples on ice as we transport them to the lab, and printing of the final report, which we distribute at the end. That's what I have. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Gareth, I did, good work, and, very nice to see that the work is making a real difference. I did want to say that, one of the reasons we want to, or I personally want to continue with your work, is to take the same standard baseline so that we can see the improvement. So, with the testing that, I hope that the board will agree to continue. We want to see the improvement in the same locations on the beach. So I want to make sure that it's the same standard testing that we've been doing, that we're going to get the results on, so we can see the difference from, 2015 to 19 to 20, just ongoing every year, because as we, possibly looking into opening the beach, what they ask for is consistent testing over time. Year after year. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that, you're not, I know that you're interested in some of the new areas that you're exploring. I do want to make sure that we have those same standard baseline, so that we have the data comparing our personal same testing sites improvement.
Absolutely. Every year we've measured both at the beach itself so that we can get those baselines and look at subtle changes, as well as looking at the sources themselves. So we
Okay.
hope to do the same thing
yeah,
this time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, making sure that the same locations are used so that
The
we can
exact
have
same, yeah,
apples to apples.
exactly, especially at the beach. It's really critical. Yeah.
And, you know,
In
the
fact,
ca-
we do
yeah.
the sampling from the very same spot on the beach and
Right.
the same depth out in the water, with a long pole. And so we're very careful about consistency, so that we can really see the changes
Right,
you're
so-
talking about.
I mean, the town, in conjunction with the village, I think it's gonna be going for yet another grant. We did have one grant where they crawled up those systems and really, found a whole bunch of challenges that were fixed, we'll call it that.
Great.
And we're hoping to continue the work. We're hoping to partner with the village on some more funding for that, to continue the work. But, as far as what we're asking from you is to maintain that same standard testing so that we have that back-to-back data that the health department will want from us.
Absolutely.
How close was the September data to being at that threshold level? I know there was quite a decrease in the output there, but
So we didn't have quite enough data from September, after this happened to get a reasonable average. All I could say is closer.
closer.
But this year we will get a good solid data set at the beach that will tell us how close we are. So yeah, that's a very important metric, and we weren't able to get that from this last because we didn't have quite enough, and the weather didn't cooperate either with us. So most of the data that I show is dry data, because as soon as you have rain events, then other things are happening that complicate the picture. Also important to understand, and so we do measure during the rain as well. But I haven't shown that data, just in the interest of time.
Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor, can I jump in?
Yes,
Hi, Andrew Teese here. Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Andy.
What's interesting here is that you see major progress, right, in the summer months that you talk about, and
Yes,
that's great. But what will be interesting is the new results, because we had one of our major repairs done around October 15th, behind Havel Street, and that was a really big repair. That was a couple of 100 feet of pipe that was relined, and during surges, which we noticed, it was leaking out through joints. So the new data should be much better. I'm
that's
interested to
very
see what it
encouraging
is.
to hear. Yeah.
And then also so that the town knows that the village put into the budget, in the village budget, I think $200,000 a year into capital for us to investigate and to reline. So like after what we found on that sewer break / multiple area fix, and it was alongside a hill into the creek. So it wasn't something where you would be able to just rip the pipe out, do a bypass and put a new pipe in. We did in situ lining, and we did bypassing all weekend. And it was a big repair. I think it was over $100,000. Could have been like 150,000. But once we noticed it, we attacked it right away. I think it's something going forward that we just constantly look at.
which is appreciated, and I appreciate your partnership. Yeah, the
Indeed.
town and village have been working together, and, the village has really been instrumental in identifying and finding and cleaning, and, we couldn't have gotten as far as we did without their partnership.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and we appreciate you continuing with the putting it in your budget year after year. I think that's important, and
Yeah.
and definitely appreciated from those of us who whose puppies play in the water, who keep a boat in the water, who kayak, and all of those families who don't realize that our beach is not open.
I just have one question for Gary. Thank you for all your work doing. Just wondering, when the Killbrook comes into town of Ossining, like near the Maryknoll area, was there ever thoughts to test there before it comes into the town to see how different it would be?
So
Or is-
we have, in 2016, on a grant from New York State DEC, we spent the summer sampling 4 major branches of the Sing Sing Kill, way up there, one of which is right next to the Marino, as you point out. And there are septic systems up there. So yeah, I'm happy to show you that data. I got it
was
all.
curious if that was ever done, so. see what
Yeah.
they were. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, we have it, and it's interesting, we see a big change, right about as we get to where, Havel Street, or no, Dale Avenue meets Hawks Avenue, you know, that, corner, comes down from the hill. So right around there is, below there, it starts to get much worse. Above there, it's, generally around, values of 300 to 500. So it's still not 35 where we want to see it, but it's a lot better than down below where it's in, you know, always in the thousands.
And where's the Sparta Brook start? Would it come in from the town in our Blackbird?
So the Sparta Brook starts in two places. One is up by Holbrook Road, and then comes down sort of behind, you know, the Sunoco station in North Island Avenue, comes in behind there. And it actually joins a second tributary that comes from Briarcliff, right about there. And then it goes out to the Hudson. That's where we actually did.
Yep.
Um,
Right, that's where we did the sampling on the Sparta Brook, where we saw really pretty shocking values. So we're hoping to further investigate there too, and see if we can be as successful as the village and the town has been, you know, in those areas. And I might point out that our new intern who did the work on the Sparta Brook happened to be the daughter of
Good job.
Sue
Yeah.
Dent.
Very nice.
And her name is Sidhuja Narayanan, and she's done really excellent work. And we look forward to more work with her.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gavin.
Thank
Can
you
we,
very
can we
much.
just talk
Thank
about
you.
the incidentals really quickly?
Yes.
What, because I feel like we have the conversation and then it's like a scramble to put together the
Sorry.
resolution.
Uh,
What the town board did last year was it authorized $5,000 to the Westchester County Laboratories for the testing. And then to reimburse Hudson Valley Stream Conservancy and you as president for incidental costs incurred up to $1,000 with documentation to substantiate. Are you comfortable with that again? Is the board comfortable continuing that?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
So we'll put it on for next week.
Great. Yeah, that's good. And it might be useful if you could include in the resolution that the money could be used as a partial matching grant for DEC grant if we're awarded that. We probably don't even have to have that in there, but it's
Testing
comfortable.
fees can be used toward the match,
Yeah,
is what,
Exactly.
you know, because we're gonna pay for the testing, so.
Right.
You know, we're not opposed to that testing being used, you know, as a match, but we're paying for the testing.
Yeah. Perfect.
Is that, I'm sorry. Did I-
Is that clear?
I mean,
Just say
the,
that.
the town board has always designated where the money is going to go.
Right.
But it's, I don't know that we can make that designation. That's not really
that's
for the
fine.
town board to decide. That's based upon what the grant is and
Right.
what they accept as a match.
It's been approved by the DEC. You know, I talked to them, asked them whether this would be applicable, and they said yes. So,
Yeah, I don't know that we need to put it in the resolution.
Okay,
I think
that's
that
fine.
you can-
It's
you
not the
can
town
help-
board's
yeah,
decision to make, in
exactly.
my
Right.
opinion.
very good. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, and then next we have a discussion about the location of the Lewis Ingle Waterfront Performance Stage.
We are joined by,
The town planner, Valerie Manastra, as well as the team from McLaren, with Ryan Rivet Frame
and
and
Teese,
NDTs
one of
from
our
engineering.
projects. So who wants to start? Ryan, did you want to start with?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, what I'll do is I guess I'll share the document that we sent out. If I can find share, there it is. This is the document that we sent out on March 13th, which is sort of the result of our conversation and our meeting in January, mid-January, and the results of the ground penetrating radar scan at the beginning of March. And this kind of shows basically the 4 stage locations that we've discussed. I'm not sure to what extent this document has been reviewed by the rest of the board and the rest of the team. But, you know, we're at a point where we're looking for feedback on, you know, trying to finalize the location of the stage. And, you know, I'm happy to talk about each of the positions, but I also don't want to be redundant. So I don't know if there's any questions right off the bat.
I prefer if you did talk about it, we may have an audience and, you know, people
Okay.
in the video, so we want people to hear. And I'd like the board to hear again. So, yes.
Absolutely. So there are 4 locations that were discussed. The first is what we're describing as the west location, which is essentially the same footprint as the existing stage and in the same location. This would basically be no change to the physical location of the stage, although the layout would likely change a little bit in order to provide ADA access. The next closest location is the southwest location. This was intended to basically fit in between the existing convenience building and the current westerly location. Based on the GPR scan, there is a water line that runs under there. So the sort of the southwest location, it doesn't really move the stage all that far away from the west location, but we are including it here for completeness. The south location of the stage would basically replace the existing convenience building in the park, and a new electrical shed would be provided adjacent to the stage in order to manage the electric service throughout the rest of the park. And then last, we have the northerly location of the stage, which would move the stage basically out of the central area of the park and open up more seating opportunities for people, among a few other things. But that's kind of a very high level overview of the 4 locations that we've kind of discussed.
When I was down there, I thought the southwest location was slightly more angled. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. One of the issues that we'll run across is relocation of a potable water line would be, you know, an added expense. There are a couple of locations where we have existing electrical conduits that we're running over. In fact, the existing stage runs over one. Since we're doing since there's already a plan to do a service upgrade in the park, relocating 1 or 2 electrical conduits is not that big of a deal, but starting to relocate other services starts to become more costly. So we can certainly explore that, but it would likely increase the overall cost of the project.
And how would that be in relation to the northern? Is there any utilities that have to be moved or relocated that could be costly for that?
In the northern location, there's 1 electrical conduit that would have to be relocated. The GPR scan indicated an unknown anomaly underneath there's actually 2 of them on the north side. One of them would run underneath the stage, the proposed stage location. I received a message this afternoon from Mario that that the park completed 2 test pits today to investigate what those features are. I'm not sure which hole went where, so I'll have to follow up on that. But my understanding is that in one location, they could not find any anomaly. That all they found was rocks. And in the other location, it's an abandoned train track.
Gotcha.
So far as McLaren is aware, that may be a non-issue entirely.
And then one more question while I'm on the north stage. there's no way, there's no possibility that North Stage would have gone in that little square where the concrete walk is in between the two walks? That's just not the right dimension or anything? Is that why?
Are you saying between the two walks?
Yeah. Like, see where the North Stage is now?
Yeah, I mean, there are.
That's why you put it there?
A lot of the rationale for putting it there was to place it further into the park, predominantly for noise with respect to using the parking lot for food vendors. So we didn't want it to necessarily be right in the middle of everything. There are also additional services in that central location, but in kind of the middle of all the concrete walks. So fitting it in there would be more challenging than in the
Gotcha.
proposed location.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, Andy, can you, and or Andy, can you speak to?
Yep, I'm here. Can you point to the water line that you're talking to that is in the way if you did it southwest?
The southwest water line is this dashed line with the W on it.
Okay, so that's a 2-inch line, correct?
I am off the top of my head, I don't remember what came back from the scan.
Okay, and it ends in that building, so it's applied, so it's for the bathrooms, right? I know where it comes to the wall. So if that footprint were to change, like where it says asphalt walk and then metal grate, like right where that arrow is pointing
Yes.
to that grate. So imagine it being on a 45 where you can still see, the Palisades and you could see the huts and you could see everything kind of on a 45 of the way those two, the west building is and the south building is, moving that water line, 2-inch water line, I don't see it as a huge cost. And, it's something
Okay.
something, Liz, you can talk to the village about because it's something that our water department can move. If you were to choose that, because it's a service line. It's not a water main. So it
It's
doesn't
not a
even.
water main, it's a service line? Okay, that's a
It's a service, so yeah, it's a service line. It's not health department approved. It's so it would be able to be moved and obviously we would disinfect and as running the water department. So Ryan's kind of sees me no more on the engineering side, but running the water department. We would disinfect, we would move it, disinfect, and then rehook up. And we would test it in our water filtration plant to make sure it's safe to drink. But I don't want to see us losing an opportunity just for a 2-inch water line. That's to the council person. To me, it's like a private business, a 2-inch water line that runs to your business. It's not a big deal, Angelo, your building, I think, is a 2-inch water line.
Yeah. And I'm thinking
So
what
it's-
it's gonna be used for, and if the bathrooms are being moved.
Yeah,
Does that
exactly.
line, is that the one that continues to the water park or is that a separate line?
I think it's a separate line, but I can't answer that for sure because the way it looks is, can you pan over on that?
The GPR scan was stopped at the end of the convenience building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't answer that for sure, but I do know, like, just visually looking into the water park, the backflow preventer is much larger than 2-inch. I think it's like 4-inch. So I think it's a separate line, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so if we're discontinuing the restroom there, we may not even need that line at all.
There is currently a branch that's marked on this plan.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the exact location and orientation of the stage, that could potentially become a problem, or we would have to start looking at, because we're already on top of an existing electrical conduit here that would have to be relocated. And then depending on how far we rotate, there's a second one that we may need to consider. So it isn't necessarily just a single water line, but that's something we can play with if the town is open to exploring that.
Yeah, once you get into conduits, it's on the electric side, it's a lot more money. The water's easy. electric isn't so easy because when you're just moving a conduit, you also have wire that's inside the conduit. And then unless the conduit's gonna be shorter, you have to pull new wire. So we have to look at that.
Are we going for a service upgrade, Andy? Are we gonna try to do that?
Yeah, but it's, we are going to, so, but it's, some of the existing is gonna stay there.
Okay.
So it's gonna be an additional, from what I see, it's gonna be an additional panel. But it's just my opinion, it's just one opinion. I would love to see it southwest, but that's me.
Valerie, are you here?
Yeah, so I would just maybe suggest is if the board is interested in doing the Southwest, maybe there's a way to get a little bit of a cost estimate on the on those utilities, right? Just to get a sense of like how much additional cost that would be in order to move those. And then maybe they can also take a look at the overall dimensions of the stage to see if they can tweak that a bit to better fit in between or around the different conduits.
Yeah, and that's something that will be like as we move towards and kind of finalize a location, it'll be easier to start manipulating the stage layout to optimize for that location. Right now, we've shown a generic, basically stage area with an ADA ramp up for ADA access and then 2 stairs.
Right, because I think your current plans right now show the original stage in like a little box, correct? Is that the bandstand?
Bandstand, yes, this is a survey and this is the original stage. Right now, the stage dimensions are nominally the same and additional space has been added for the ADA ramp and the stairs.
Right, so I guess my point is that I think there might be some design flexibility to still maintain like the size stage you're looking at, but then, but maybe be able to fit it into that southwest corner.
All right, so my personal concerns with the south one is it's facing right into the apartments. I've talked with some of the residents there. Some of them think that's fine, and some of them think that's the worst idea they've ever heard. The north aspect, while it faces away and, the Sing Sing inmates might enjoy a concert here and there. I personally don't love the idea of looking at the building to the north, and when I'm down there for a concert, I'd prefer to be looking at the water. That's my personal feeling on the way, and it's a little close to the food trucks and the beer garden, and I think having the music a little further away from the activity of the sales and the generators, even though we're trying to work away from the generators, not everybody may have this rate hookup for whatever we put, so there's always a potential for generators. So I find that location challenged for the way I'm looking at it. I don't hate where it is now. I do understand that some people really feel that the sunset is blinding them as they're looking at the concert, which is why I kind of like the southwest one, angling it just slightly away because the sunset's to the northwest. If you turn it just slightly, you would be facing away from the sunset and have a much bigger audience viewing area, especially if and when we get rid of the comfort station. So those are my thoughts. Does any of my colleagues, Matt?
I concur. I like it.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, there's no other, besides the southwest one, I wouldn't even consider the other choices. The southwest is the only choice that makes sense to me.
All right, Angela. All right, Angela.
No, I mean, you heard me. I mean, I can go with the southwest one. If the design, does it have to be square, the stage? I mean, I was looking on, maybe you're right. If we're looking at an angle and you're seeing the sun come down and all that, the sunset, it's not in your eyes, you're looking at the river and the Palisades and all that.
Right,
It
I'd
could
just
be-
like to angle it somehow where there's not
Yeah,
water.
I
behind.
mean, I don't think a square is gonna work there or a rectangle, but if we can have some kind of flexibility with the design of the stage, maybe I was just writing some stuff down here, but. You know, if we could look into the utility stuff and. That could,
Well, you know, as Valerie was saying, you know, what's the cost difference? I mean, we're investing quite a lot to, you know, have the engineers bring in more electric service to the entire park, you know, to be able to support food trucks and things, for them to be able to plug in and not have the noise and exhaust fumes of the generators going. We're making significant investments into the quality of the park. I don't know that moving a utility is the biggest challenge for us. But I'd want to understand the different costs. Craig, what are your thoughts?
I think actually my personal preference is probably the north, but I think the southwest is fine. I think to Angelo's point, I think if there could be a little reconfiguration of the design, that'd be helpful, but southwest I think works, and I think having a slight angle away from the sunset, I think most people would enjoy that.
Right. So what do you like about the northern location?
I just like being a little bit closer to sort of the action up there. If that makes sense.
Okay, so you
sort of
think that the
train,
stage and the
yeah.
food trucks and the beer garden should be all in one
Yeah,
corner and,
yeah, but you know, I'm not that strongly towards it. I think having it similarly to how it is now with the Southwest with a slight change, I think works well too.
I mean, one advantage of the north location is that by putting the stage next to where the food trucks are, a lot of the noise from the food trucks won't be disturbing the people actually watching the show. Most of that noise you actually won't notice. Whereas if you're sitting in the back, you will, you know, you're more likely to hear the food truck noise over what's going on the stage. And then the other considerations, just the actual considerations are, you know, if you need to load equipment and other things in and out of the park and onto the stage, you're much closer to the parking lot. So that's another consideration I know that our team was batting around when putting these kind of concepts together.
That's a big that's a big point. Listening to what you said, I never even thought about that you would watch the show and then you would be fighting over generators behind you and noise behind you. That's never thought about. So you're saying the stage north will drown out the generators and the food trucks?
Since the people that are closest to where that noise is being generated are also going to be closest to the speakers,
Yeah.
that will have a lesser effect on the people watching. Whereas if you're sitting at the very back of the crowd, the audio is already a little bit lower, you're going to pick up on that noise behind you more.
Is the thought on that one too? I don't know if you've thought about this, but you know, now when you enter, you walk through the food trucks, whether kind of you want to or not, and it is a bit chaotic. Is there any thought that maybe some of the pedestrian traffic could then kind of flow outside of the food truck area to get into the concert area? Does that make sense?
Do you mean to the, I guess, east
Yeah,
side?
yeah.
I don't really see a reason why not. I'm not sure if I fully understand the vision that you have in your head, though.
Down the, yeah,
right here.
yeah.
They're coming from the Boat and Canoe Club. From the circle, they're entering the festivities, right? There's gonna be. all
most people are
clogged up.
coming down the ramp.
They're coming down the ramp and then they would have to go on the parking lot spaces to get in.
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
deadly. There's
Yeah.
parking
that's
wars over there every time.
So that could be the challenge.
And there's really no sidewalk that goes there.
Yeah.
The sidewalk's against the water. So, all right, I'd say, you know, I understand what you're saying. I will say that that is the reason we're investing so much in bringing the electrical service, you know, the increased electrical service so that the food trucks will be able to plug in and be quieter. Understanding that not everyone may be able to. For me, it's about what I'm looking at when I'm watching the concert. And I think the thing that makes our concert series so special is having the water behind it. And I think looking at a building is a very different experience than looking at a river. So that's where I'm at. And the angle of it also doesn't point toward the building. I guess it would be more toward the station, the train station,
Like a cone, right,
right,
so
so
that people
kind
can
of,
sit around it.
exactly, so it would kind of be more,
Atmosphere.
you know, but the noise cone would still be toward the rock wall and the train station platform, kind of behind it.
And all the spectators can all look out.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah, and I think one of the comments from our team as well is that the west and southwest locations do kind of bisect the park a little. So it does limit, you know, it has a negative impact on how many people can comfortably sit and watch a show down there. Because you're kind of not taking advantage of the length of the park. But you know, people are also more able to spread out and see the stage. So people may see that as a bonus.
fair to say that the north stage would accommodate more spectators or space on the park.
Based on the geometry of the park, you could accommodate more people reasonably if you were in the north or south location. Whereas you're gonna kind of self-handicap if you're on the western side. But I think a lot of that is gonna be a matter of perspective.
This is Valerie. Out of curiosity, though, the southwest stage, if you were to rotate it even more southwest, would that accommodate a larger amount of people than the current west stage?
I think they're similar. That's something we can play with and see where that leads us. I think you're ultimately going to be in a very similar boat, even if the southwest option is rotated more. But whether or not, you know, that's desirable is something we can certainly look into.
Yeah, I can see how the north stage would have a longer spectator area, but a lot of people like to sit in the front. So,
And the south one, it looks like you lose a little bit in the southern part of it, southern part of the park.
southern one, I have to take down our few shade trees that we still have that have survived the storm, so I'm not a huge fan of that either. We're working on shade and we're hoping to work with your team, Ryan, on creating more shady areas throughout the park, within the context of this project.
Okay.
I'm not interested in taking down the few old growth trees that have made it,
Got you.
personally. Any last comments from Valerie, Andy?
I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at how the south stage is placed. If the south stage was in that same direction, like where it's facing north, and you just move the stage up closer to where it says the asphalt walk, you would get a long distance, but you wouldn't catch the people, down below by the charging station. So it's gonna be important how it's rotated to maximize, the viewing. If that's chosen.
It almost looks like the ideal location would be right on that asphalt walk,
On which side?
but there's utilities there.
For south?
I assume that's in. Oh, did that go? Yes, it did. In this location here.
Yeah, kind of there and turned, so you're facing,
Here we can even play with that.
there.
And then instead of being
You
square,
thinking more like something like along these lines?
Right, so exactly, so it's angled so that it's almost facing the train station / platform. So it's not aimed at a building, at the buildings to the north, you're still looking out onto the river when you're at the stage, but it gives you an audience,
Okay.
a wider audience.
Locating it in like a location kind of similar to the box that's drawn would probably necessitate shrinking the size of the stage a little. Otherwise, there appears to be a sewer
Yeah,
line
okay.
here. So, and then some guidance on how we want to handle the asphalt walk here, because I imagine there's
Yeah.
not really an appetite to disturb that. That's a nice walking path.
No, we don't want to disturb that at all. All right, sewer's in the way. Bah humbug.
It's a tough decision because as I look at that footprint of what he just put up, you really get a sense of like you're losing a lot of viewing capability compared to the north. I never thought I'd like the north, but you know, I like the view of obviously the water this way, but it seems like you get the most viewership north, but it's not the look that everybody wants. It's not easy.
Is there a way to like maybe turn the north stage a little bit more, I'm gonna say west?
Turn the north stage further to the west.
Yeah, so it has a more of an angle.
You're gonna be
Yeah,
looking-
I mean, I think there's a world where we could do that. Maybe run the edge of the stage parallel to the water line or something along those lines. Is that what you were kind of envisioning?
Yeah, because then you might avoid some of the apartment building that I think the town supervisor was concerned with, but you might be able to capture a little bit
But
more.
then you're looking right into the sunset, which is, the challenge at the western location. That's the sunset's
Yeah.
over point for most of the concert series.
No, I meant like, yeah, right, yeah, where the north stage is.
Like
exactly.
that, but we could probably go maybe a little more. It's kind of the thinking.
Yeah, that was my thought. So it wasn't so direct onto the apartment building.
Yeah, I mean, I know that. Here we go.
That's an interesting thought because think of how much you would have of viewership all the way, south.
I mean, yeah, this definitely maximizes the space you have available. And to be honest, it actually provides the best access, especially when you're loading in equipment and things for shows. Because, if you have to haul it across the park, the damage to the park will likely be higher if you're doing that regularly.
I mean, there's a walk that they
Yeah, it
follow,
doesn't,
so-
there's no.
Yeah,
damage.
they have a furniture dolly, they roll, they. use.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure of the scale of some of the productions.
It hasn't been a challenge yet.
Yeah, I still can't get with it.
I'm still with the water behind the
Yeah,
stage.
I still can't get with it.
I understand what you're saying. I understand it's a deeper viewing shed. I just still think that the draw for our concert series is to have the water view. Facing, we could have it facing the parking lot, but it's the ambiance that I think brings people down to the River Jam as opposed to, the how close you can be to the stage. Some people just sit further away and listen from, some of the other areas by the water, so. And without the bathroom there, we're increasing our viewing shed dramatically, or our viewing availability.
For the Southwest location?
All right, yeah, for the Southwest location, I'm still in the Southwest location. Even if it's, yeah, I'm still in the Southwest location. Slightly turned as best you can to,
Yeah, I mean, we can explore how to best fit in the envelope we have available.
yeah, I mean, even if you move it closer to on top of where you have the current Southwest location, but yeah, and angle it.
Something maybe
Figure out what
tight like
works.
that.
Yeah, within somewhere like that is my thought.
And if relocating the water line is not, is something the town wants to explore, it would buy a little more room to rotate it and sort of play with the geometry a bit more.
you know, Andy is the head of our water department, and
Not concerned.
if he's not concerned, I'm not concerned.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, they're good partners to us. You know, it wouldn't be the same as hiring, you know, if the, you know, if we could work within the village, with our water service. Shifting, you know, that would be much different cost wise than, you know, hiring an, you know, a team to come in and move it as if it was our private property.
We also have an annual bidder, which is a plumber that could help run the line. And we have Mario and his team that has an excavator. So there's multiple options here.
We're not opposed to doing some of the work ourselves. We have some very talented crews.
And I will say one of the advantages of the Southwest location is that as you're approaching from the audience's perspective, you're approaching the front of the stage. You're not approaching the technical areas behind the stage. So, you know, I think that is also a consideration.
Valerie, you're hoping we make a decision today so that Ryan can move forward?
Well, ideally, that would be great, because also if you want to keep on time, on your timetable of trying to be able to open up for the following year, you know, decision is probably better
All right.
sooner.
So let's get it. I mean, we can always, Ryan, we're gonna ask you to, you know, do a drawing of, you know, the location and see what it actually looks like. When we decide, right? So Matt, you are a Southwest? You sure? Okay. All right, Jen?
Southwest?
All right, I am a Southwest.
North.
Okay.
I mean, I just,
Pick one.
I'm looking for the spectator's point of view.
So you are picking
North.
North, okay. So we have 2 North and 3 Southwest, great.
But if there's some changes to the Southwest changes,
Well,
different configure like a different layout or something that would work, then
might I suggest then maybe what we can do, maybe have Ryan go back and have them reconfigure where the Southwest would best be located based upon the board's feedback. And, you know, he can easily show another plan with both the Southwest reconfigured and the North stage so that, you know, you can take a look one more time. And then maybe remove the other options so that way you can see the type of area you would have for the audience for both scenarios.
and if I could just recommend, can we try to put the Southwest stage utilizing both asphalt walks? So you see that little corner where the two out, the
So
walk.
connecting to both asphalt walks.
Yeah, so that could be used as, you know, connecting to those, and then you have that little corner there, you know, and that's where.
Is there an opportunity? It's just as a question, is there an opportunity to kind of run over this part of the asphalt walk so that we keep this part out here active? I'm
Yeah,
not.
no, we want to keep that back. We want to keep the part against the river active. at
Yeah,
all
so you want to keep the
even
part
during
of
the concerts.
the river. What about the kind of remaining pieces that are?
No, those are to approach a bathroom that we're intending to take down. So
Okay.
that can all be ripped out completely.
But it could be incorporated into the ramps of the stage.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is
Okay.
I think we'll probably my instinct is we'll connect to the asphalt walk on the outside, but if the stage starts to overlap the asphalt walk, kind of in this corner, that wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker, right?
No, that asphalt walk was specifically for people to get to the bathroom,
Okay.
which will no longer exist.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I think that 3 of the board members' priority, or one of our priorities, is just to have the water view behind. So, yeah, whatever way you configure it, and you think it's the best audience experience while maintaining a river view and not being blinded by the sunset, which in June is typically right at the tip of Croton Point, would be, and I think I have or could provide you pictures of exactly where the sun would be located during our concert series to help guide you, because that was the main problem with the current location. The main complaint we got with the current, well, that and no roof, which obviously we're going to solve.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, that would be very helpful. And yeah, I see no reason why we can't sort of produce a refined drawing here to show the southwest location and the north location, and then isolate and kind of remove the other two options from consideration to help kind of focus down to, kind of selecting one of the two.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And if I can suggest, just do two separate renderings so it doesn't show it in all three locations. And then when you do the southwest, I'm going to be very interested to see how the new electrical shed ties in, so it's not a, eyesore.
I believe for the southwest location, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the bathrooms would be demolished, but the remainder of the convenience building would become a utility shed to maintain the existing equipment that's in there.
Right.
Yes,
so
and it's
northwest-
8x6 or something like that. So I think I don't know if that's this. Oh yeah, so you have it 8 by 3.6, 3.5 feet.
Yeah, 8 foot by 3'6" is the current.
So then if you place that blue outline, like where would you put it in relation to keeping that shed where it is? Because that's where all the infrastructure. Like, would it be the
Yeah,
back of it?
we would endeavor to definitely keep that. I mean, we could probably rotate it a little more. The problem is that we'll begin to encroach on the asphalt walk. But if we're talking about all this electrical work, maybe we come over this conduit and we, concern ourselves with trying to limit what we're running across.
I just didn't know if you're in your design, you wanted it to be very close to the stage, so it's not so. It's like part of the stage. You know what I mean? If there's any way possible to make it part of it. Or hidden. I don't know if it's possible.
I don't know if it's practical. We can look at that. I don't know if it's practical to do that in that location with the southwest configuration. I mean, anything's possible, but you would be relocating more services.
I know. Just it's a bad setup. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, that is an interesting observation in that this electrical shed, is a bit of an eyesore.
And it's expensive to move that because those conduits feed over to the water park. It's not easy.
And how tall was that? Sorry, maybe I missed it. How tall was that shed? Is it taller than the state?
I mean, it's regular walk-through door. Right, it's
basically the
Stay high
existing.
because of the water table. We need to keep the electric lines at least 6 foot high.
So the top of that will be higher than the stage floor.
Yes.
My understanding from our conversation is that it would basically be the same height as the existing structure. And we would basically and the intent would be to remove most of the existing structure and just basically shrink the size in plan.
And then plant pretty trees.
See what you come up with.
Will do.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate, we look forward to seeing the new renderings. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening for our work session. We're going to adjourn to executive session for our advice of counsel. I do. Good
So
try.
moved.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we'll see you on the 8th at the courthouse for our next meeting. Enjoy your spring.